you. I think the effects in the film are amazing. I was talking to Brie Larson about that amazing sequence when you two were up on the hill with King Kong. And she was telling me that you actually picked out a song to play in that moment, but she couldn't remember the song.
And Tom had found a song, I don't know from what soundtrack, but there was some soundtrack that we ended up playing so that, because we need both of us to kind of feel and know what's happening at the same time. So we used this piece of music as a way to like set markers of maybe what was happening. I don't know. You should ask him. I don't remember.
He's over there.
It was a really, really beautiful piece of music.
That's
but
cool.
that was it. And then there's like a fan. So you know that's when he's breathing on you. It's completely not even close to what the movie looks like at all.
What was the song you wrote?
Yes, it's a piece of music from Sunshine, the movie by Danny Boyle, with Cillian Murphy, Michelle Yeoh, Chris Evans.
John Murphy's, did he do the score for that?
Yes, he did, yeah. And it's called, it's the Adagio in D minor, which I think is a really beautiful and evocative piece of music. It's interesting because actually, I think a lot of people know, when we made this film, we went to Hawaii, Australia, and Vietnam. We were mostly out in real places, real jungles, swamps, rainforests, all of that. But that particular scene you're talking about was in a studio because the movement of the camera had to be very controlled, and we had to be able to be at the top of this mountain and get quite close. So they built a mountain on the set, and Brie and I were surrounded by green screen solely. There was very, very little to respond to, and she and I had to respond as if Kong was there to the same things. He was blinking, he was breathing, he was approaching, and it's difficult because we couldn't see each other because we're looking out.
Interesting.
And also the music, but the music became a kind of representative of him. Look it up. It's a really beautiful piece of music.
Oh, it's like 4 notes. It's like I know exactly what it is. It's one of the greatest pieces of music ever. I think they used it in. I think Vaughn used it in Kick-Ass.
Yes.
Her POV scene.
That's right. That's exactly
one of
right.
the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard in my life.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's in her POV scene of Nicolas Cage in.
Yes, when she like goes in to save Nicolas Cage. That's freaking awesome, man. There are little things that I love about that give details to stories. So, for example, your father's lighter, or the fact that Brie's wearing a necklace that has a circle on it. And I'm wondering, like, do you ever add things in that weren't in the script that help you become him more? Like, do you like have little things like that that we wouldn't know?
Yeah, well, there's always things you kind of grab onto. Like I remember thinking very much about the RAF lighter, and it was actually something. When I first read the script, the character was American. And
really?
I suggested to everybody that because I actually would have been excited by that, but the difference of opinion that Conrad has with Packard, Samuel L. Jackson's character, about what to do about Kong, I think if Conrad had been an American soldier, he would have been insubordinate and accused of inciting mutiny. Whereas the fact that he's SAS, which is one of the most highly regarded military units in the world, certainly in the British Army, gives him a kind of an outsider's perspective on it, so he's not in the US military. And it just made room for different points of view, and then suddenly we're like, wow, that's great, because then his father can have been a pilot in the Second World War, and he's got the RAF lighter, and that's where that came from.
You get slapped by John C. Reilly multiple times in this one scene, and I have to ask you, like, do you just sit there for hours being slapped by him? Like, how, and just, I mean, I can't imagine. It sounded like it hurt. Like I felt bad.
No, it was hilarious. It was really funny. I loved that. I loved all the stuff. Some of my favorite bits in the film, because John C. Reilly is a man out of time, and Conrad becomes someone who has to bring him up to speed, you know. And I loved those moments of levity. Yeah, I was just happy. Afterwards I was like, please tell me that was funny to Jordan. So yeah.
One of my favorite things about movies are like the little moments where you learn about a character's past, and specifically there's like a great lighter sequence with Tom Hiddleston's character. But one thing I wanted to know about you is you're wearing a necklace with a ring around it.
Ooh, you're the only one who's noticed that.
I was just curious, what do you have a backstory behind that?
You know it.
Can I hear?
It's the circle of life, dude.
Really?
Gotta have the circle of life.
Lion King style?
Yeah.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Was that a choice that you made for the character? Was that something that was in the script? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that those are little bits of intrigue. You know, I'm wearing one costume through the whole thing, and so you kind of just, and everything she's wearing is very practical, but you just kind of want a couple little touches that make people go, oh, there's like a little bit more here than what I'm just seeing on the surface. Awesome. I think it's like a symbol to those who like will get it, I guess, or know it. It's a symbol from the very beginning that she's here to protect. She's here to be part of nurturing and part of peace, and not here to dominate.
That's awesome. Now, I was wondering how functional the camera was, because I'm a big film fan. I love like old school film cameras, and I'm wondering, like, did anything you actually take, and did you get them like photographed or processed? Does that work?
Well, I was taking real photos on the film, but not with her camera, because her camera is a Leica, and in the period of time that the film takes place, there wasn't light meters in cameras, and that's like way more badass than what I can do. I need a light meter. So I used my camera that I have, which is an AE1 program, which I got when I was in high school. And so I took photos. In the other room, I guess they call it a hospitality suite, those photos are photos that I took on the film.
I know Kevin Feige will come swinging through here if I ask anything about Captain Marvel, but I do want to know, just as like a hypothetical situation, if you could see her on this island, what would she be doing? I mean, completely non-spoilery from anything she's doing in the movies, but...
Whoa, that's like blowing my mind, that question.
Yeah, I'm like nerding out because I can't wait to see.
What the heck?
Yeah, what would she do? Like if she was dropped on that island with Kong and everybody else, what would happen?
I mean, I feel like if I was her, I would just like scoop up all of those people that were trying to take Kong down and just like get them out of there, just move them away. I mean, that would be a really short movie. Yeah. But I think that that's practically what you would do.
I'd pay to see that if that's okay. I mean,
it's a short film. It's just a short film.
Get Feige on the phone and all the Marvel people, and I'll definitely watch it in 2 seconds. I mean, filmmaking has changed so much since you first started in this business, and effects are amazing. But one thing I love about this film is they actually have so much practically happening. The helicopters falling, the explosions. What things on set blew you away that were real? Like, I mean, were guns being really fired with blanks? What?
Well, we always fire guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was always shocked by the guy that they set on fire that was running around, you know, because every time they say cut, they just douse him, and then they go, okay, let's juice him back up, and they go and smear all this shit all over him, and then, you know, they light him first before they say that. The background, and they light his ass, and then action, and it's like, that dude is like, but I think stunnies get paid for every time they get lit.
At each individual lit time?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like taking falls or whatever, they get paid per fall, per light.
You know, one thing, I've spoken to you so many times over the years, I know one of your favorite movies you ever made was Unbreakable. And I actually have my Unbreakable ticket with me, and I've been saving,
oh, really?
I've been saving it for years. And I just saw M. Night Shyamalan's latest film.
Oh, you saw Split?
Split. So I was just curious, did you see it, and what did you think about the connection?
I've seen Split.
What did you think about the
ending?
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm gonna get another job soon.
Dude, would you want to do something more with it?
Well, it's supposed to be 3 in the beginning.
Really?
It was always supposed to be a trilogy.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I was like really bummed when we didn't do the other 2 anyway. So maybe now we'll get to it.
Did M. Night give you a call and say, hey, this is happening at the end of Split before you saw it? Were you
No,
surprised?
he just said, I made a new movie called Split, and I want you to see it. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, no, I want to set up a screening so you can see it. So I was like, oh, okay. So they did, and I saw it, and I was kind of like,
that's cool.
Okay, what's happening? So I called him and said, you know, it's a really great movie, so what's the plan? He said, well, let's see how this movie does first. I think it's been successful enough that he might want to pursue that.
You have a great line in the film. This made me laugh. It said, mark my words, there will never be a more screwed up time in Washington. And I'm wondering, obviously, considering what's happening right now in the world, I'm wondering, was that line put in there specifically for that? Because you shot this a little while ago.
We shot that line in September or October.
Okay.
It was part of a reshoot, but who knew what was going to happen then? And there's also J.C. Riley's character is like nuts for the Cubs.
Right.
And when we were wrapping up this time last year. Who knew what the Cubs were going to do?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, people that you've played over the years, I've been watching you since I was a kid, and obviously I love you with the Coen brothers. And I'm wondering, like, are there elements of people who stay with you? Like, is the Big Lebowski character still with you? And could you imagine him in this environment, like what he'd be doing?
Oh, he Yeah, he'd be on a mission to sacrifice his life if he was over here. If they had Budweiser.
I could just see him with a gun, trying to take care of business.
Yeah, but you can't tell him what to do. Yeah, and yeah, he'd talk way too much. You just leave him behind and go on to the next one.
Yeah. Are there? But do certain ones are your favorites? Are there?
Oh, sure.
I can't imagine like you look back and go, man, I loved being in The Big Lebowski.
You know, there's one I keep forgetting about that was great. It was the guy from Arachnophobia. It's weird. I had such a good time making it, and the character came out of a teacher that I had. I was desperate to find something, and it just happened. And I think that's kind of where I learned to be still more and let things pop out of my imagination.
That movie freaked me out. I'm wondering, were any of the spiders on set real?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Most of them.
Okay, first of all, how do you do that? I wouldn't be able to get 100 feet from
I don't have any problem with spiders.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I do, but they told me they wrangled them very well, and they didn't bite or anything, and they were kind of cool to let walk around.
And there's so many incredible effect shots in this film, but I love the idea that a lot of what you're seeing is practical too, with the helicopters flipping. It was so sick. But I'm wondering, when you see Kong, what are you seeing in regards to like what markers do you get? Is it lasers? Is it tennis balls? What do you see?
Yeah, sometimes it's a tennis ball, sometimes it's a volleyball, sometimes it's a pink X. You know what I mean?
Sometimes they point.
It's just air.
Yes.
Like, Kong is out there. You know what I mean? All right. You know, but we were in such beautiful places while shooting that, like, you know, when it's time to be in awe or it's time to be really afraid or whatever, like the environment helps with it, you know? So
Yeah, you just had to look around, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a laser pointer on the mountain. They were like, maybe he's like right there. And you're like, okay, I'm never going to remember that when you stop pointing that laser, but I'll try.
I remember in Jackson's movie, Andy Serkis played him in performance capture.
Yeah.
So nobody played him in performance capture here. Was he fully CG?
No, he was a blend. You know, ILM had created something. Terry came in and did some work. Terry Notary came in and did some work on the body, and I also I pitched in with the facial. You know.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You know, I love the note you're writing in the film, and I don't want to give too much away, but I'm wondering, the note itself, filmmaking-wise, like, do you know what it fully says? Did you write it out personally? Was it something that, like...
Yeah, I wrote a lot of letters, actually. Yeah, I wrote a bunch of letters. But actually, Dear Billy came out of Jason just being like, Dear Billy. We're all sitting around in a tent, or it's gone dry or a bit quiet. He's like, Dear Billy. And we just cracked us all up. You know, it's one of those that, you know, the 11th time I was like, man, he's milking this one. But then the 54th time, I was crying. I could not. That Dear Billy was making me cry. So, yeah, it grew out of something that had happened, just us sitting around, you know, as chaps.
First time I met you, I interviewed you for Straight Outta Compton, and F. Gary Gray is a phenomenal filmmaker, and obviously the sets are completely different, the movies are completely different, but I'm wondering how playing Eazy-E changed you personally. I mean, I interviewed you for the film, it was cool to talk to you about it, but how have you changed as a person and as an actor, and how did that affect this role?
Well, obviously, you know, you take your character research to a high level when you're playing somebody that actually lived, you know? And I figured out that having a strong opinion about your character and how they feel, it makes everything. You know, when it's time to do improv and things like that, like me knowing my character only wants to go home, I can always fall back and relate to that. You know what I mean? Like, I can always relate to me knowing that this is a bad idea. Why are we even here? You know what I mean? And I feel like that about everything. But the whole situation, it kind of just put me in a new mind frame of like, you could be a movie star. You could do this if you take it serious. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's been coming together good. I mean, I'm sitting next to Toby Kebbell right now. You know what I mean?
Genius, man.
So.
Yeah, and you mentioned the facial capture work that you did in the film. I'm wondering how that works in regards to, like, 'cause he's not saying anything. It's more of just like the screams and everything. Do you just sit there with like dots in your face and like do like the mouth open stuff? Is that you doing that?
Yeah, it's a lot of still work. It's a lot like the roars, the screams, striking the helicopter, how that would roar. You know, his roar, the actual sound of that. is digitally then enhanced. So this is a digital creation by ILM that really what I was doing is giving a helping hand. So eating the squid. There's a thing about watching people eat, watching creatures eat.
You did that scene?
Yeah.
While you were watching yourself
I
do
watched
that
myself fight a squid. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
To wrap me up, but dude, it's awesome geeking out with
Thank
you
you,
guys.
man.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much.